started thinking about the job posting analysis, and I started imagining our graduation day and the first time someone calls me Dr. Ivy. The joy that I'm sure will come from that will know that I've actually reached another life goal that I had set for myself at an early age. I'm sure that day will be incredible, but thinking about my dream job and what I want to do with my future got me really fired up. Over the next several minutes, I'm going to discuss my goals and what I would like to pursue upon after graduation. I hope you enjoy. So, during the pre assessment that Dr. LaPrairie gave at the beginning of this class, one of the questions she asked was about our dream job. At the beginning of this program, I was and still am, and one of my dream jobs is the Director of Instructional Technology. However, another dream job that I would like to possibly do one day is move into higher ed to help educate students and staff on technology and possibly be a liaison for students seeking careers in public education. So the sector that I'm going to focus on and remain in is the K-12 and higher education area. But the funny thing is that my research on jobs and job titles, I found that these jobs of information technology are moving into the business world, and so I do want to keep my options open to this because, as I will discuss later, I found some pretty neat and discouraging things, and so that's why I want to keep my options open. The job titles that I began using for my search into my dream job was instructional technology, and I wanted to do that in the university setting. What I found was strictly tied to instructional designer jobs. So I began Googling instructional design systems and basically careers. And as I was scrolling through and looking at the different postings on this, I noticed an ad in the online job board of Indeed.com. And that ad stated a position for the Chief Technology Officer and a Chief Innovation Officer. As I began looking at the Chief Technology Officer, I found out it was an executive position. It was focused on scientific and technological issues within an organization. And it was basically the strategic responsibility, and it was relationship focused. All of those things are things that I wanted in a position. The history of the Chief Technology Officer, or the role, became prominent in the ascent of information technology and the information technology industry, including computer-based technology such as game developers, e-commerce, and social networking services. Other non-computer focused technologies such as biotech or pharma and automotive. What I found out with the Chief Information Officer, it was beginning to make a switch over to the Chief Innovation Officer. The CIO is likely to solve organizational problems through acquiring and adapting existing technologies, especially those of IT nature, whereas the CTO principally oversees development of new technologies of various types: app design, web design, engineering and programming projects. And the funny thing is many companies have both positions, both that are of interest of mine. So as I've moved my research into higher ed and still using the CIO and the CTO as the title of research, I happened upon the Professor of Teacher Leadership position, which was exactly what I was looking for when I filled out the pre-assessment for Dr. LaPrairie. The reason that I wanted to look at these titles and the terms was because I wanted to use my leadership skills that I had learned in the past through my superintendent and principal classes to lead people. Because I actually love that aspect of leading people, and not necessarily leading people, but teaching people change management, or even the task of changing something for the better. I want to career that makes an impact on people. My passion is leadership and technology, and if I can have a career in both, then I will actually accomplish what I've set out to do in my life, which is pretty exciting. The list of resources that I'm going to be using to identify these job openings is going to be Esty, Indeed.com, Glassdoor.com, ChronicleVita.com, and ScholarlyHires.com. I will include these position PDFs at the end of this. The specific leadership skills that were most frequently mentioned in all of these were basically short-term and long-term planning, direction and oversight of products, services, and activities. They needed to foster advancement, effectively facilitate, maintain relationships, model behavior, keep learning, represent the company, and evaluate and assess. I listed 5 for the implied leadership skills. You must have the high credibility factor. You must be able to show a past and proven record of successful innovations that you have implemented. And one of the most important skills that you can have is trustworthy. The second is the ability to see and communicate the future, which I conceive kind of hard. That can be a hard test to know. But from what I understand, if you know the market and you're always learning, then you'll be able to identify the needs and how the needs need to be met. The third is the ability to drive ideas. You need to be able to communicate well. These ideas that you come up with, you may be able to come up with ideas all day long, but if you cannot communicate those ideas, then your ideas are pointless. You must be able to identify and disarm the cancer of the organization. And what I mean by cancer is something that is hurting either your innovation, your idea, or it's fighting against anything that threatens what you're doing. And how are you going to disarm it? Do you have the courage to go up to them and confront them if it's a person? Or do you have the willpower to just keep striving and keep digging until you find the answer to it? And the last is build and bridge connections. As a leader, I want to be humble, but foster that openness and transparency that every great leader has. And I also want to build those relationships that I don't burn any bridges while on the way. So how did I align this with my defining leadership assessment? First, I see that in order to be a successful Chief Innovation Officer, you must obtain the trust of your coworkers in order to implement any new innovative idea. This leadership skill takes the process of building relationships and a community of respect and involvement. Building relationships and getting people's voice heard will allow the Chief Innovation Officer to present the vision, impact initiative, and improve existing programs. Second, you must know the need in order to establish, develop, and execute your idea or a new idea. And third, leadership is about having a hunger for wisdom. One of the most successful companies, which I talked about in my defining leadership assignment, was Chick-fil-A. Mark Miller, who was the executive vice president, created a model called SERVE. And each one of these letters in SERVE represents something. The S stands for see the future. Most of these job postings wanted you to be able to see the future. E is engage and develop others. Do you have and can you build those relationships? Are you outgoing? R is reinvent continuously. You need to be able to assess and fix. Value results and relationships. In order to get results, you got to know where you're at. So this goes by assessing and then valuing those results and building upon them. And E, do you embody the values? In leadership, everyone will hit these speed bumps, but it's how you respond to these bumps that will determine your future. Mark Miller's servant leadership builds on the fact that leaders invest in the development of their people, and when you find a successor you can carry on, that can carry on when your season of leadership has ended, is the hallmark of a true and great leader. So, what leadership skills do I obtain, or do I feel like I have? If I if I was to analyze based on the SERVE model, I feel I possess the ability to engage and develop others, embody the value of the company, value the results in the relationship. One thing that I think that lacks in not only education but the business world too is the ability for leaders to get input from its employees that are in the trenches. And by the trenches, I mean people that are doing the daily task every day. As a leader, you should value the input and listen, because the next leader could be sitting in the trenches waiting for that opportunity to fly. The areas that I must improve on are seeing the future and reinvesting continuously. These are hard to master, and I believe that it begins with asking the right questions about the current state, getting immediate feedback from all stakeholders, and the ability to write short and long-term goals with steps of completions along the way. It's also about improving, the constant learning, and as a chief innovation officer, you can attend conferences, workshops, and innovation retreats. So what did I find surprising? One thing that I found interesting was how little college professors or even college leadership was paid compared to business leaders. I found that I currently make more money in public education than I would pursuing a professor position in instructional technology and teacher development, which was shocking because essentially my goal is to move to higher ed.